Welcome back to the show. BRICS is making big moves, ladies and gentlemen, and it seems to be starting in Russia of all places. Not to mention, we got the hallmark of evil to talk about today. Somebody wrote that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. Did you pick a good day to tune in today? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. It's Friday, 62,000 almost on the nose for Bitcoin. Ethereum's been stuck at $2,600 and change here. USD Tether is at $118 billion market cap, but for how much longer? XRP number 7 spot at 60 cents. USDC just above it at number 6 with a 34 billion plus market cap. Even though XRP is up at 60 cents, we're up 0.5% on 24, but we're up 7.6, much like the rest of the market. We're up 7.6 on the 7-day. Range of price very quickly between 59 and 60 cents. Very tight trading range. We'll keep an eye on it. I want to tell a lot of you about Link2, and I know most of you are like, oh, I've heard about Link2. Well, let me tell you. Did you hear about this? Link2 wants you to know, especially if you're a U.S. resident, but all around the globe as well, they have investment opportunities for all investors. So now, no matter who you are, U.S. investors, world investors, accredited, non-accredited, they have opportunities for everyone now. And I told you that the original mission of Link2 was to democratize finance. Now it's your job to click the link, sign up and register and get started today. What are you waiting for? This is the brick and mortar, the picks and shovels behind all this amazing tech that we've been following forever. And they have the best companies from every hot sector that you would ever want to have exposure to. Click the link and get started today. Look right here. This is a reminder as Ryan Selkis shares the DNC's crowd and the reaction to Senator Warren and showing that there is just a real problem inside the party itself, not just with Senator Warren. And that is an accurate reflection of the entire DNC at this point. It has lost its way for sure. But I say, make no mistake, Senator Warren, who was, in fact, crying. Look at her crying. She's crying. She doesn't know what to say. She's overwhelmed. And you know what? That's not elation, ladies and gentlemen. That's fear. You better understand this. This is why I'm asking you to go donate, even if it's $5, to johndeatonforsenate.com. Senator Warren is scared because that straw poll showed how John Deaton is being received in Massachusetts, and it is gangbusters the way he scored on that straw poll. He's going to beat her. And it's because she's feckless. 13 pieces of legislation, she got one through, and it was like to name a statue or something like that. It's not even anything that benefits the people. Elizabeth Warren will lose the next election for Senate. It's time for the division to end. Please, I'm asking you, you don't have to live in Massachusetts to donate. I've maxed out. I'm not asking you to max out. I'm just asking you to do what you can. $5, $10, $20 over a lot of people. And there's a lot of people listening to this stream. We can make this happen. This woman is the anti-crypto general. She's got to go. Her own party's turned on her at this point, even if it's just verbiage and posturing. Nonetheless, she's got to go. Very quickly here, federal prosecutors have charged Michelle Bond with violating campaign finance. Bond, who was a former Ripple executive and unsuccessfully ran for a congressional seat in New York last year, allegedly used $400,000 from FTX to finance her campaign. Remember, Michelle was married to Ryan Salame from FTX, and apparently she's been caught up in the rest of it. So there you have that. Now let's look at this. Maxine Waters declares pro-crypto shift for next congressional session. You remember the one that sat next to Patrick McHenry and acted so indignant when she turned and said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to have to relook at this, and I don't go for all of that. And she's telling everybody else how we need to do and how we need to be, much like most other people in Congress do. And a little fun fact about Maxine Waters, she can't even do her taxes right. But she proselytizes from her chair in D.C. about what all of us need to be doing. Well, now she's had a moment of clarity. Now that the DNC is facing the idea of losing their power and position in mass across many different places in politics. And now all of a sudden, she's back on the pro-crypto shift. Just like Chuck Schumer. They think they can get something done by the end of the year, which tells you what? They've been using DC as their personal honeypot, pay for play, only letting through the friends that they want to see let through. Right? It's like sitting outside a club and your name ain't on the waiting list. Oh, okay. Is that how it's supposed to work there? No specific policy or proposal. Charles Hoskinson calls them out and basically says, will Gary Gensler be fired? What legislation do you support from Harris? What executive actions will be issued? Why haven't you changed the policy right now since you're president? I'm sorry, there is zero trust. And there is zero trust. They're in a shambles. But I tell you, you're going to see something I'm going to show you inside of the Freedom Zone today, and I can't show it to you anywhere else. And you're going to find out what the hallmark of evil looks like. We also see this. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. withdrew from the presidential race, and the Trump campaign announced a special guest at today's rally. You know, I started out saying I would have loved to seen a Trump RFK Jr. ticket with him as the VP. This would have absolutely brought the country together in a way that spoke to the uniparty, you know, the right, the Republicans and the Democrats, who really are the same, ladies and gentlemen. Let's understand this. Their party ideologies are different. Yes, I understand this. But they're the same because they're taking money from the same corporations, banks, and big pharma, which makes them the same used up condom in D.C. as a person supposedly representing all of us in our districts. Now, there's a few in there that are good. There's a few. But it's not enough to really make the difference because the system is broken. And that's the problem. But hopefully today, if we see RFK Jr. join the Trump campaign on today's rally, what I hope to see is at the very least an announcement that RFK Jr. will be brought into his cabinet. And wouldn't it be fitting if they made him the head of the CIA? Well, I bet we'd see what happened to his father and his uncle then, now wouldn't we? I keep saying it. This is what Nerdy X90 says. Bitcoin and Ethereum are not it. Ripple, Real USD to completely change the current state of the space. I highly doubt USD Tether makes it out alive at the end of the transition. Regulation is king. He's referencing this project here,
financial stability,
which is really, you know, discussing BIS and all the work that they've done. Project Guardian, they've done so much work, and the BIS has multiple projects going on. But they have analyzed this market, and they know that crypto is not really going to serve the world the way that central bank money does. That's the point of all of these clips. And here, what do we know? Institutional interoperability with Deutsche Bank, Axelar, BIS, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, Project Guardian. Take a quick listen to a piece of this.
So I'm very curious from your side, right? You decided to put up an application with MAS just to participate in Project Guardian this year. Of course, Axelar is a big part of that as well. We've been working together on this for a while. Would love to hear more about what motivated your participation in Project Guardian this year.
That's right. Digitalization is a very important topic for us, as you can see from our from Deutsche Bank's own DNA since the 1990s and maybe even before. So for Project Guardian, we believe that it's an initiative that will seek to progress how you can use a DLT in order to advance the industry. So for example, it brings together regulators, market participants, as well as fintech collaborators such as yourself and Memento's blockchain. So this is a venue that we see that, hey, you know what, we can go there to see what more can be done, what more can be explored, what should we be thinking about in order to start, right, designing our services, to meet the demands of our most demanding clients, the asset managers who are already into blockchain, into digital assets and digital funds. So it's no-brainer that we should actually be in Project Guardian.
No doubt about it, a no-brainer. They should be in Project Guardian, and it goes on, and shout out to them. But look, I got to remind you guys, Axelar, who he's celebrating there in that conversation, is involved with Project Guardian, which is overseen by the Monetary Authority of Singapore in collaboration with the BIS and other central banks. Deutsche Bank, which has selected Axelar's technology for interoperability, joined Project Guardian to explore tokenization. This involvement was highlighted in announcements and discussion around May 24, indicating Axelar's role in providing interoperability solutions for Project Guardian's initiatives, specifically in the context of enhancing tokenization of assets across different blockchain networks. This connection was also reflected in posts, obviously here, as you can see. I'm showing it to remind you guys, and why am I even going there? I'm going there because this news came out this morning. Russia to launch 2 crypto exchanges, and guess what? Stablecoins linked to the Chinese yuan and BRICS currency. What? BRICS currency? Yeah, I thought that was supposed to take another several years. Now, full disclosure, I went into the article and it doesn't say anything about the BRICS currency itself, which is supposed to be backed by gold, they have suggested in previous conversations, but it doesn't go on about that. But it does, it does basically say that Russia plans to link the Chinese yuan as a stable coin to their crypto exchanges. And this is the start of how you do it. So we'll watch for more, but I got to be honest. I mean, things are moving a lot faster, and you start to understand the reasoning for these things like Project Guardian, right? You start to understand the reasoning for updating FedWire to FedNow.
We're also, as you know, investing heavily right now in building a new settlement system for instant payments in the U.S.
So there you know, right? That's Jerome Powell from the Fed, right? This is why all of that's been happening for years. This didn't start yesterday. This has been in the works for years. And all of this is coming to a head where they're going to implement it. I remind everybody right now, as a reminder to this conversation, SWIFT just came out and said November 2025, they're ending the coexisting phase. I remember when we were waiting for the coexisting phase to even start. And with all of this amalgamation of and movement towards clarity and, I don't mind saying, implementation of these new digital assets inside of these different countries and their regulatory frameworks. I remind everybody on this Friday that it's the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve that are considering reclassifying cryptos as currency under the Bank Secrecy Act. And what's under the Bank Secrecy Act? Banks, currency. Then what does that mean? Then that means the cryptos that are currency are going to be regulated and monitored, held, bought, and sold by, you guessed it, the same entities that were favored by the SEC to suppress this space for over 4 years, right? The same entities that weaponized the SEC to suppress this space for over 4 years. The same entities are about to get control. If this is what they do, the same entities are about to get control of this so that anyone else out here in the space that will be found to be operating out of compliance because they're not Bank Secrecy Act compliant is going to need to be acquired by a bank. And meanwhile, we're waiting for the real USD to be launched. That's right. While we're hearing about Russia launching a Chinese yuan stablecoin on their crypto exchanges and an upcoming BRICS currency coming here. And the real USD is supposed to be out somewhere by the end of Q3, give or take. Well, that's about 30 plus days away here. And I have a feeling with the way we see Ripple operate, and they seem to do it right, that this real USD may be a lot more important than you ever thought it could be. Taking a look at this DOG in the house, Eggrag Crypto. He comes out here and he shares a chart that he has shared before because nothing has changed. Same stance, same targets. Boy, I tell you what, this guy, I love the way this guy breaks it down, especially him and Dark Defender. I know a lot of people push back because they've been showing things on the charts and they haven't happened yet, and they've been showing the same figures and numbers. But that's because the fundamentals on the chart haven't changed. They're not lying to anybody. They're showing you what's on the chart. I just went through the whole thing about how the entire market's been manipulated. Government agencies have been weaponized to serve the banking industry. And now the U.S. Treasury and the Fed are talking about making cryptos currency so it falls under the Bank Secrecy Act so they can control it all. And anything that's left outside that's a speculative asset will be treated like a penny market, right? Penny stocks, speculative. And you may or may not get to trade those. We'll see. XRP is holding strong between 55 and 60 cents. As you know, that's where we are. Weekly closure above 64 could pave the way to test that 70 to 75 cent range, which is the genuine wake-up line. And I've been telling you, that's where we need to get above. A healthy stay above that 70, 75 cents is where I've been paying my close attention, because the breakouts after that are $1.50 and possibly $7.50. And once we get above $7.50, watch out, ladies and gentlemen, because that's when the real fireworks start. Because above $6.40, he says, hint, wave 3 after $6.40 is a 3-digit target. Come on in. That's why we love Egg Red Crypto and Dark Defender and all the rest of them. They don't need to be right on the time, because it's impossible to know when the time is going to be. What I'm grateful for is that they can break this down to let you know that no matter how much time it takes, the numbers are waiting to unfold for all of us. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We are at an incredible inflection point. And right now we're going into the freedom zone, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. You're not going to believe what we're going on in here. The hallmark of evil, and I'm going to show it to you. Join us, digperspectives.com. Click the freedom zone and come on in for next to nothing. We're getting started right now, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Welcome back to the show. Oh my goodness. Let's get right to it, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to listen what Kamala Harris has said, and I don't think anybody could summarize what she said and what kind of person that she is more succinctly than Tucker just did. Take a listen. This is from the DNC, by the way, speech.
Consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy.
Can I just interject here for a second? This woman's really scary. She could easily get elected president. She's much more skillful than I have ever seen. She's a liar on the deepest level. The things she is saying right now are not just untrue, they're the opposite of the truth, which is the hallmark of evil. She's an extremist. She'll say anything. She's much more like Gavin Newsom than I ever realized. I could go through a whole litany of why what she's saying is not true. It wasn't an armed mob. There's not one person inside the Capitol with a firearm, period.
Exactly.
The only person who was shot in the Capitol was an unarmed woman shot by one of Nancy Pelosi's bodyguards.
Bingo. So
again and again, she's telling us that she fought the cartels to secure the border. She's the border czar, and the border is controlled by the cartels.
Mm-hmm. And there's 20 plus million people that have come through that border that she's supposed to be the czar of.
She argued that Donald Trump, quote, tried to throw away your votes. Didn't the Democrat Party just throw away all the votes and install her?
Well, exactly. She's saying that Donald Trump will free from prison violent extremists, meaning like 75-year-old lower middle class women with diabetes, when she endorsed defunding the police and opening the prisons to allow actual criminals out, which is why the crime rate has spiked, to allow the population of Venezuela's prisons, Caracas's prisons, are now living in the United States because of her. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, and I don't want to sound like I'm whining or fact-checking, which I hate, But what she's saying is the mirror image of the truth. She doesn't care. She's got no reference points in the truth, and she's an extremist. And she's a former prosecutor, and no former prosecutor should hold power, period. I've covered them my whole life. I've intensely disliked every single one of them for good reason. I think they're scary, they're liars, and they're megalomaniacal. And they put people in prison for political reasons. I've seen it again and again and again. And she's one of them.
And there you have it. This is scary, and you can see the stage is set, right? I mean, we already know that they're going to try to do things that are not above board. We've seen it before, right? I don't know anybody with an IQ over 39, and I've talked to people that don't even like Donald Trump, and they know full well something went on funny business that last election, because even they understood, just being objective and honest with themselves, they're like, there ain't no way to do one election, right? So again, the way I see this is that there are similar approaches and styles and signatures to the way that the deep state operate. I think we saw that method, that signature when they tried to take Donald Trump's life in Butler, PA. I think you saw a similar signature to the way that event was approached as you did when the assassination of President Kennedy happened and his brother Bobby. And I think you could tie that back to the same person, same entity, I should say. And then you have this approach here, and a person who is raised by her father, who is a Marxist. It's not, this is not breaking news. He was a Marxist. She is a Marxist. And all the things that she just said really were very evil. And in the fact of, this is where they have been doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on the DNC playbook, which is Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. You should treat yourself if you haven't. Accuse others of doing exactly what you're doing. And that's exactly what's going on here. Nancy Pelosi was involved in the setup at January 6th. Anyone who's put a few minutes time into that understands that. Tucker is right. Not one person with a gun entered that Capitol building. But someone was shot, and it was a Trump supporter who was shot by Nancy Pelosi's bodyguard, right? She's the one that told them to go ahead and open the doors and let them in. So, look, these things are not speculative. These things have been confirmed that I'm talking about. They're not my opinion. And I don't share this because I'm some disgruntled, begrudged Republican. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. I'm an American patriot. And there's times that I will find myself that aligns with left ideologies and right ideologies. But more importantly, I'm an American patriot. And when I see the system being weaponized and manipulated in the manner that I'm watching it happen, as a patriot, I have a problem with it. I have a problem with anyone who does it, right or left. I'll catch all of you on the next one.